Terence, definitely a pleasure meeting you today, and I wanted to kind of touch bases with you in terms of your goals and your aspirations. So the primary objective for this meeting today is to kind of talk a little bit about feedback
Okay.
and how you have experienced it both on negative and positive side,
Okay.
and tell me, things that you could have done a little bit differently had you been able to do the process over again. So just tell me a little bit about yourself in terms of your background and what your aspirations are.
Okay, well, my name is Terrence Duke. I'm going for a bachelor's in professional sales degree at Kennesaw State University.
Lovely.
And I'm originally from Pasadena, California.
Lovely. So what brought you over here?
My parents moved,
Right.
and so when my parents moved to Georgia, I moved over to Georgia with them.
And you like it, pretty much?
Yeah.
All right, good. So based on this experiment at this time, where have you ever had a situation whereby a person may have maybe a subordinate or management giving you feedback based on a performance level that you were not necessarily comfortable with?
Yes, I have. Actually, when I worked at the airport
Mm-hmm.
for G2 Secure Staff, I
Mhm.
worked for the airport there, and then we had a manager who didn't like necessarily the practices that they taught us.
Mm-hmm.
They would actually have us, you weren't supposed to take tips
Mm-hmm.
on certain jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and when we did that, they
Mhm.
would get mad. They would get very mad at us,
Right.
and then talk to us in a certain tone.
Derogatory manner. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
No,
So you felt degraded more or less based on the conversation path. Now, was there any sort of channel that you were able to articulate your feelings in terms of how that person made you feel, as well as how that person could have done the job a little bit differently in terms of communicating with you?
Yes, actually, I stopped really paying attention to it that much.
Mm-hmm.
I would listen, but I wouldn't come back in anger,
Yeah.
with a tone of anger.
Yeah, right.
And then I would just respond in a normal manner and try to be as calm as I could.
But at the same time, that type of response, it wasn't satisfactory to you because there was much more emotional stuff going on within, and you weren't able to kind of get it out in a manner that would have proven that there was some dissatisfaction with the process, with the way you were spoken to, the way you were handled. And being male on male, it's a little bit more of a ego situation.
Mm-hmm.
So you in turn consumed that. You consumed your emotions, and you still went on and you did your job. But how did that hinder your productivity now in terms of your levels? You said that you didn't really respond in terms of speaking about it. You didn't show any angry gestures. But how did that impact your productivity level?
I would say I wasn't motivated to do the work that I wanted to do.
Right.
The work that I had to do at the time wasn't as motivated as I was when I first came in.
Right.
It changed my whole time and the mood of the day.
Right. Okay.
Instead of being, energetic and
Mhm.
ready to work, instead I was upset and, pissed off.
Right.
And
Rightfully so. Now, had you had an opportunity to revise that whole scenario, for example, how would you make that experience a much more promising? Because negative feedback is sometimes not necessarily received as bad, quote unquote bad. It could also be a very positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you revise that whole situation so that you can learn a little bit more from that experience in terms of yourself? How can you take that experience noticing, okay, people can speak to me in a certain type of manner, but I can't really respond? What does that tell you about yourself?
That I consume too much.
You do, yes. So you internalize. It also may show that you are not one who is easy to be disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, that's why you kind of internalize that whole process. But had you had a different avenue, or what type of avenue would you have utilized to get your point across so that you could have made your manager recognize that what they were doing was something wrong? Because clearly, if that was something being done to you, it was something being done to others.
Mm-hmm.
So what could you have put in place to allow that manager to recognize that the conversation channel at that point was tumultuous?
I could have tried to respectfully tell them that I didn't like the way they were speaking to me in a certain tone, and basically tried to get them to understand that I understand they did not like what I did, but in this manner that they're taking, I'm not responding to it well.
And it's funny because, like, negotiating in business or anything, even having kids, you try to get them to do certain things that you want, even when they don't want to do it. You still got to push it on them, and that could be a lesson learned for you in the sense that you don't necessarily have to be harsh when you're gonna articulate your dissatisfactory in terms of a person speaking to you. It's like, you're talking to your parents and they say something that is not satisfactory, and you challenge them. You can do that in the workplace as well, but it's the way you kind of frame it. And you should take it upon yourself at that time to bring that person back down to ground zero. But at the same time, you never know what might have been the experiences that that person was going through that day or during the period of their employment at the airport. It's a high-stress place. Everyone comes in with attitudes and tend to, carry on in certain manners. So if you were to, let's say, have that experience right now with a new manager, male or female, doesn't matter, and you felt the need to shut down the way you did, how can you combat that?
I can combat that by explaining to the manager, what I've gone through in the past, and then tell them what I'm feeling now, and trying to get them to understand that I need them to talk to me in a different way.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so, all right, so that sounds good. Now, in terms of, have you ever experienced any other situation like that in terms of feedback? Because people look at feedback as being someone coming down and saying, "Look, Terrence, I don't like what you're doing," or "I do like what you're doing," right? But it can also be in a conversation manner where you're being slightly humiliated or slightly encouraged. And most people are not able to pick up on a lot of those cues. So based on your experience, and it could be at the airport, currently in your family, however the case is, or as you try to progress. Like, for example, what is it that you want to do after all of this? After you finish all your academics, after you finish all your, your current place of work, what is it you initially want to get into?
I want to get into business-to-business sales.
Oh, so you want to be on the sell side?
Yes.
Maybe we should talk, because we could bring you into Morgan Stanley. I think you might like that because, if you want to do brokerage or whatever have you. But that is a arena where people challenge you. They disrespect you, they challenge you in many ways. And as a professional, a business professional on the sell side, you have to find ways of being able to consume the negative and turn it into positive, and reiterate that not only to yourself but to the person you're speaking to, such that they can understand where you're coming from, your ground position, and let them understand that there are things that can be said in manners that can be at least a little bit better formulated. So how, like, in terms of your goals right now, and in terms of the experiences that you have, you came into contact with, have the experiences kind of created a barrier or any kind of limitations in any form for you?
They haven't created a barrier. They're just really learning experiences.
There we go. So you're taking it as a learning experience, which is good. All right. And in the sense of a learning experience, how challenging has it been for you based on your personality?
Based on my personality, I know that there are certain things that I do not like when people speak to me in a certain tone, but I've been able to learn a little bit how to, change that and not necessarily accept it, but be able to respond to it in a different manner.
Okay. All right, sounds good. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Terrence.
Thank you.
This was a great meeting. Appreciate it.